Hi and welcome to video blog number 6 of my Ecmp 355 blog. This week we're going to talk about coding. Nerdy? Yes. Addicting? Maybe. Useful? Absolutely. What is coding? Code Conquest describes it as coding is what makes it possible for us to create computer software, apps, and websites. Your browser, your OS, the apps on your phone, Facebook, and this website, they're all made with code. In other words, whether you were aware of it or not, you've been dealing with code already today, and probably for longer than you've realized. Coding is done through what is called programming languages, and that language will vary depending on what you want to code. Mashable.com released an article in 2014 on coding called 10 Programming Languages You Should Learn Right Now. They were Java, C language, C++, C Sharp, Objective-C, PHP, Python, Ruby, JavaScript, and SQL. I'll link the article below so that you can see just what all these languages do and where they are used. Some of these languages are relatively new, and some, like C, are the building blocks used to create new languages, which is exactly what Apple did. 6 months after Mashable released this article, Apple created Swift, its own programming language for iOS, OS X, and watchOS. This is the language that programmers use to create apps for any Apple product, and is based on and works side by side with Objective-C. But enough about that. Let's get to what really matters. Why I could have created Mario Brothers. Okay, so maybe that's a bit of a stretch, but if programming apps and games were as accessible when I was a kid as they are today, it would have greatly affected my trajectory in life. I was not a huge gamer, but as a young kid in the 80s, I was directly impacted by the movements of the home video game systems. In fact, the Nintendo Entertainment System is involved in a lot of my favorite early memories. At that point, though, the idea that there was a computer code written that controlled the game was a very vague concept. I had heard the words and I had a general idea of what it meant, but for me it was reserved for the work of geniuses. Someone much older and smarter than me with a supercomputer somewhere in another country would work some combination of science and magic, and I would be able to control a plumber in his battle to save a princess from the entrapment of some sort of evil dragon turtle creature and his minions. For those of you who missed it, that's the plot of Super Mario Brothers. The coding for Super Mario Brothers at the time was revolutionary, and I'm sure was the work of several geniuses over several months and maybe even years, and used several supercomputers. Today, however, I'm convinced that with enough time and a bit of coffee and copyright infringement, that I could write the code of that game. How is this possible, you may ask? Have I become one of those super geniuses? Did I get my hands on a supercomputer? Does everything involved in coding use the word super? The answer to all of these is no. I'm certainly not a genius. My computer is a Mac, a MacBook Pro to be exact, and not everything in coding uses the word super, but it should. No, the evolution of computers combined with the innovations in coding and languages and software means that coding is more accessible and easy than ever before. Don't believe me? Check out Scratch. It's a program developed by MIT and the Lifelong Kindergarten Research Group. Located in MIT's Media Lab, the LLKG is a group of researchers, scientists, professors, assistants, and staff who have created programs like Scratch and Computer Clubhouse. They're a group that are inspired by the way children learn in kindergarten. When kids in kindergarten create pictures with finger paints, they learn how colors mix together. When they create castles with wooden blocks, they learn about structure and stability. When we want to extend this kindergarten learning to a style of learning so that learners of all ages continue to learn through a process of designing, creating, experimenting, and exploring. Our ultimate goal is a world full of playful, creative people who are constantly inventing new opportunities for themselves and their communities. How cool is that? So what can you do on Scratch? Well, that's only limited by your time, imagination, and in the case of recreating the code for Super Mario Brothers, copyright. In just a few hours of playing around with Scratch, I was able to create a simple yet entertaining maze-based game. Check it out. link to the game so that you can all become EdTech masters. It's way faster than actually completing a course like Ecmp 355. However, I'm still working on getting it university accredited. But you're all masters in my books. Scratch is an incredible example of a way to introduce young minds to coding. It is especially relevant in today's digital society where most kids will have dealt with some sort of operating system and coding language by the time they're 2. I think this is an incredible opportunity to shape some lives. Like I said before, I'm not convinced that if something like this had been around when I was a kid, that I wouldn't be writing code instead of this blog. Programs like Scratch or the examples at sites like learncode.org are incredible ways to make learning code fun and engaging. In fact, Nintendo created Super Mario Bros. Maker. Check it out.
Ah, the familiar sight of Super Mario Brothers. Wait, that's not right. Time to open up some new possibilities. Anyone can make it, everyone can play it. Super Mario Maker, only for Wii U.
That's right, it's a Wii U game that makes Mario levels. Sure, in these examples you're missing some of the behind-the-scenes coding, but if we all had to start every learning experience as though nothing had existed before, we would all still be in a dark cave somewhere. I think that initiatives like Hour of Code are great at introducing the world of coding, but is every student going to go on to code apps, programs, or write a new coding language? Probably not. There are tons of other learning and critical thinking skills that come from coding, though. Check out the Learn to Code, Code to Learn TED Talk for more information. Hopefully this blog has given you a little insight into the importance of coding and how cool it is that we can show kids what is going on behind the scenes of the tech that they deal with every day. Now, I need to run. I'm coding a side-scrolling game where a carpenter rescues her prince from the captivity of an evil bear monkey. I'm going to call it Stupendous Carpenter Sisters, or maybe Superb Maria Gals. It's a work in progress. Thanks for listening. Feel free to leave some comments about coding or about my Ecmp 355 maze game. You guys have a great week and we'll talk later.